allow me to present today Saniona, which I am a co-founder of and CFO since 2012 when we established the company. So we had a press release yesterday about we're taking our lead program into phase 2 now, and we have an approval for the German authorities, and we will start recruiting in April. So I will use some slides today and some of your time today in order to go through a little more details about this program. Otherwise, I will start a little bit more generally about the company. So what I would like you to remember when you're going out from here is that Saniona is a company with top-class science. We have a number of very interesting programs, and we have lots of partnerships. This is 3 very key attributes for a biotech company of our size and our stage. Also, this enables us to generate revenues. So far, we have entered into collaboration agreements this year, which will secure income in the range of 20 to 25 million crowns. This covers a major part of our operational cost, and therefore the money we are raising in the stock market is used for external development of our programs and our ideas. So what do we got? We have a world-class research team within our field of research, which is ion channels. These ion channels, they focus on a number of drugs which go to quite broad different indications, such as pain, CNS, metabolic diseases, and autoimmune diseases. So we are not very focused when we are talking about indications, and that's why we need also to do partnering. We have today 9 active programs, and of those 5 are financed through partnerships. And then we have a platform of additional discovery and clinical assets where we are maturing for partnering to going forward. So I use this slide in connection to our finance round in autumn in order to illustrate the stage of the company. And we listed the company Axel Token in 2014. At that time, we were a discovery company. Then in November last year, we raised money in order to start this phase 2 program we're going to do now. And we also have the ambition to take the company into the small cap main list in this year. So what did we say? Yes, we will start phase 2 clinical trials for Tesomet during the first half. We are, as you can see here with the press release today, we have an approval for B-Pharm in Germany, and we start recruiting in April. Also, we hope that we could start phase 2 for 2359 for cocaine addiction. And already in December last year, our partner in US said that they will start phase 2 this year, or the first half this year, after they have got a grant from Dana Foundation, which will finance their external costs. And then we had this phase 1 program where we had a finding and where we were saying that we need to look further into this, and we are still generating data, so no news about this. Then in January, we made a deal with Medix, or actually in February, and we can then add a second program up here, and the fourth program up here on the clinical side. And this is because Medix has said that they would like to start phase 3 clinical trials for tisofensin standalone therapy in obesity this year. So 4 programs is moving in to the clinics. A dramatic change, you could say, from 3 programs at least, depending what happened with 363. So a dramatic change from what happened back from last year. Also at the partnering side, we were very bullish. We said that we would like to partner one of our clinical assets. We said that we would like to make collaboration or spin-outs based on our platform. We said that we would like to out-license one of our assets, which we got back from Janssen and Pfizer last year. And we have so far delivered on the top line here with Medix deal. We delivered on the deal with Upsa Smith, and we also got a grant from Michael J. Fox Foundation to sponsor one of our programs. What we're still missing here is the last one. We are still working on this, and we are very optimistic about the possibility to make a deal on this one of these assets also this year. So this was what we've said, and where we are right now, 3 months or 3.5 months later. Our partnering strategy is based on partnering, so we make early stage research collaboration where we get funding, fully funded, milestones and royalties. We then take some programs, select the program, develop them internally in order to mature them before we out-license to third parties. And then finally we make spin-outs, and this could be venture-based as the one we did with Atlas Ventures and Biogen. It could also be a separate listing for here in Sweden called Lex Isea rule, for instance. That would also be a possibility. Now, a little bit of the overview of the pipeline. So we have tesofensine monotherapy, which is for obesity, and where Medix plans to start phase 3 this year. Then we have type 2 diabetes products, where we are starting phase 2 here in April. Then in cocaine addiction, we have a program ready to start phase 2 with University of Penn. That is government funded. They will take it into phase 2 during this spring. Then we have 3 programs we are developing internally: neuropathic pain, inflammatory bowel disease, and schizophrenia. This is the program we got back from Janssen, by the way. And then we have 3 programs for partnering: ataxia, which is a spin-out with Biogen and Atlas Ventures. And then a program this year we did in January with Smith for neurologic disorders, and then the program sponsored by Michael J. Fox Foundation for Parkinson's diseases. And on top of this, we have a platform with a number of different assets which is available for partnering. And when we are talking about platform, then we are saying we are very good at GABA field in ion channels, we are very strong in potassium channels, and we are strong in nicotinic channels. And then we have some other ion channels with cancer and other things which we are thinking about what we should do with. And this is these programs where you could say we are going out maybe like in early stage steal some of those. So what do we have? We have people who knows about this, we have an infrastructure, we have a lot of tools, and this is an important part of this. If you take this Parkinson's disease with nicotine, alpha-6, etc., where we get a grant from Michael J. Fox Foundation, one of the things we could here was that we had an assay where we actually could measure on it. So these ion channels, they are very fragile. They are only existing in a few seconds and then they disappear again. And that's why it's so hard to screen towards these. And then we have made small tricks to this in order to screen to it. And then we have a large library where we can go in and find something which binds to this. And that's why we be the first one to report that now we have compound specific for this asset. And that was what Michael J. Fox was buying into. So this is the platform. Now, a little bit our deals. I'll take the 2 first with this year. Upsa Smith is a fairly standard deal. We got a small upfront. They will pay all of the research, and then we have equal to $30 million in milestones and royalties on product sales. The next one is, I think, very interesting deal for a company like ours. We entered into agreement with Medix, where they get the right to tesofensine and tesomet in Argentina and in Mexico. And then they will develop it for these markets. And we will then have the right to the data that generate for the rest of the world. And we will get some regulatory milestones. We also got a small upfront, and then we will have double-digit royalties on the sales they are doing there. And it's interesting for us because they could actually be the first company to introduce one of our products to the market. Because it's going to speed up faster in Mexico. You don't need so big trials, and then we could start have royalty income in a few years, we hope. A little bit more midterm. So that's this deal. Now, Ataxion, I have talked many times of this one before. I will do it very briefly. So it's a spin-out around one of our Ataxia program, where we went together with Atlas Ventures in the United States and Biogen. They have put $17 million into this company, which is actually based in Boston. All research is going on at Saniona under a fee-for-service agreement. We own 14%. Biogen has then an option to acquire the company after phase 1, and we get 14% of that. And then we also will have royalties on product sales. So that's also structured a little different. And then we have the deal with Pennsylvania, where they have the right to start phase 2 for cocaine addiction based on government funding. So we are not financing this. And the most interesting part for us in this respect is that we have all the commercial rights still. So this is a kind of a free ride. And I'll try to illustrate this on this slide. So on the left, you have what you could say where we are financing and taking the risk. And the right, you have where the third party is financing and taking the risk. And on the left side, we then have 3 programs, 363, 346, and 477, where we are sponsoring right now. Obviously, we also then have the commercial rights, which are on the top one. The idea is then to take some of these programs, bring them forward, and then out-license to a third party, which will then take up the funding afterwards. And then they will have the commercial rights. But instead, we will then get royalties and milestones on product sales. So that's basically the business model of biotech you see here. You take them from here and put them down in that box. And then you take somebody else take the risk, and then you have the only upside. So this is, could you say, pretty interesting. So this is interesting to investors because it's potential future revenues. This is interesting because it's in relative only upside for investors. When we then have this box for what I call free ride, this is where somebody else is financing it, but where we still have all the commercial rights. And we have two of those. We have the nicotine alpha-6 for Parkinson's diseases, which is sponsored right now through a grant from J. Fox Foundation. And then we have this clinical program for cocaine addiction starting phase 2, which is sponsored by grants in US and organized by University of Pennsylvania. So this is, this is interesting, this is perhaps the most interesting part of this from the investor's point of view, but it's not coming out of the pocket of the company. So where is Medix still in this? It's some kind of cross-border, because Medix is financing the development phase 3 studies for tesofensine. They will take Tesomet in for obesity also for phase 2 and phase 3 in Mexico. But they only get Mexico and Argentina, so it's a relatively small part of the market. We still have all the commercial rights to this stuff, rest of the world, including the data they generate. And then we will then finance at our side, you can say Tesomet for type 2 diabetes right now. They will also benefit of this because they will have the right to this product in Mexico. But we will still have double-digit royalties on sales. So we think this is a very interesting deal where a small company like ours can finance late-stage clinical trials in a neat way. Yeah. So now I will turn to Tesomet and tesofensine for the obesity trial, type 2 diabetes trials we're going to do here in spring. So what is type 2 diabetes? It's a huge problem. There's 53 million patients in the 7 major markets. Worldwide, there are more than 400 million patients today, it's believed. Not all, of course, have the diagnosis. It's going to grow with 50% over the next 25 years because of change in lifestyle. It has a huge cost to the society. In US, it was estimated in 2014 that there's been spent $174 billion because of this disease in the United States. That's more than 1% of the gross domestic product in this country. Market for the products is also increasing dramatically. $23 billion in 14, growing to $42 billion according to Data Monitor in 2023. And weight-reproducing products is going to be driving this growth. So why is that? And then just forgive me for a little, indication of slides here, but this is showing the metabolic system. Here you have the liver, here the pancreas. And when you're eating, then you will have a dramatic increase in blood sugar. This blood sugar needs to take it away because it's dangerous for many of your organs. And the liver takes care of this. It changes glucose into glycogen and store it for midterm storage. And then it releases it slowly again over the next 4 or 5 hours when you are starting exercising, standing here and working. And then you eat again and then it goes on. But it doesn't measure the glucose level. This is the job of the pancreas. So this measures the glucose level in your bloodstream all the time. And then they have 2 types of cells, alpha cells and beta cells. Beta cells secrete insulin, which is a hormone, when the blood sugar is too high, and this tells the liver to take up blood sugar for the bloodstream. If it's too low blood sugar, then it secretes glucagon, and then actually the liver starts to release it again. So that's how we are balanced of the system is working after you've been eating. Now, what happens when we due to lifestyle, we put on weight, and some of this fat would sit in the liver, exemplifies with this cloud here. And this means that your liver gets out of shape. And then when you get out of shape, you're not working properly. Just as you cannot exercise as good anymore, then your liver is also getting troubles. And this can go to different types of symptoms, and one of them is type 2 diabetes. And what happens is then that you go to the doctor because you feel ill, and he will prescribe metformin, which is a kind of of holding back the liver to secrete or express glucose back to the bloodstream, and thereby lower your blood sugar level. This is where you start, and he tell you to exercise and to lose weight. But you can't maybe not be able to do that, so you build up more fat. And some of this fat will be released and also be in the pancreas, and then disturb the pancreas. And the liver needs higher and higher signal actually to working in insulin. So now the doctor will give you DP4 inhibitors, as this product you do with, which is the leading product, in order to get the pancreas to secrete more insulin. And this, then you're working, then you have two organs working over time based on drugs. It's kind of a situation where you are trying to run a marathon every day based on steroids. Of course, everybody knows that will not go in the long run, and no sensible people will do that. But diabetic patient has no other options right now. At some point, this is not strong enough. Then they get an analog, which is the injection from Novo Nordisk, for instance, Victoza or Saxenda here. Then people start for the first time to lose weight because it has a side effect where there's a delay in gastric band, or in gastric emptying, and therefore comes a signal to brain, I'm not that hungry, and then they start losing weight. But it is not enough, the weight loss. And at some point, after 10 years, patients actually are so exhausted, these cells not working anymore, so they don't work anymore, so they need insulin injections. 50% of the patient needs insulin injection. And then you are actually in pretty bad shape, because then you're depending on insulin for the rest of your life on very tight control levels. And it costs a lot of different problems, strokes, heart attacks, blindness, ulcers on the legs and stuff. It's very costly for society and a lot of suffering for people. So this is the basic concept. So what are we planning to do? Well, we put them through a significant weight loss and then get the liver back in shape and the pancreas back in shape by losing liver fat. That's why we are interested in reduction in liver fat. To get these organs back in shape and then they start working again. And there are a lot of, you could say, indications that this is going to work. And I'm going to show you some of this right now. So what do we have? Well, it's known that type 2 diabetes patients will escape type 2 diabetes if they're losing weight. This is seen in the clinics when doctors tell them some are actually managing to do it. It's also seen in societies that if they go through, I would say, a shortage of food, such as the Second World War in Japan, then type 2 diabetes disappear. Also, cancer patients, they are often getting out of type 2 diabetes if they had type 2 diabetes before they got cancer, because they may lose a lot of weight due to the disease. Also, they have 3 clinical studies, one back from 20 years ago in bariatric surgery, where it was measured, where you took away as part of the stomach and therefore forced, you could say, a heavy diet. And 90% of the type 2 diabetes actually were out of type 2 diabetes 10 years after that operation. Here in Sweden, you have one from Dixon L, where you have a very large trial where you took patients into a gastric banging or standard therapy. And the conclusion was the remission was related to weight loss, and it was achieved in 73% in the circle group and only 13% in, you could say, the standard therapy. And it was better because circle group was much better at weight loss. Then we also have a very strict, heavy diet, just 8 weeks, where you could say there was shown some glucose control. I also want to show you some data from the clinics recently. Safcan is an American company. They have a very effective weight loss product, actually. 13% weight loss in just 28 weeks. It's called this Belodorib. Red Eye Taspalin is speaking about it in his recent analysis. And what he saw in this trial was actually that 30% weight loss reduced 2% in HbA1c, which is a marker for type 2 diabetes. From comparable, you could say that this DPP4 inhibitor, the leading DPP4 inhibitor, is a blockbuster product, only reduce it by 0.8%. This is not a competitor, I think, because it has severe problems, this product. There's a lot of side effects, and it actually had right now a clinical hold because two patients died in the last clinical trial. But the concept here is interesting from our point of view, if you have a safe drug, because it actually shows it working. Because this is a weight loss product. Now, in addition to this, there's also some other data indicating that you can keep people out of type 2 diabetes if you're putting them weight loss product for a long time. So there's a lot of evidence that this is working both from the clinics and also from, you say, different measures on this. Now, what do we have? Here you see the commercial available product, where you see typically between 3 and 6%. And that is after 1 year. When you talk about tesofensine, then it has a weight loss in the phase 2 clinical trials at 0.5 milligram after just half year of more than that, 9.2%. And this is placebo-controlled data we are showing here. So that they have been adjusted. Now, this was followed up for another 24 weeks in an open label study. And then we saw a weight loss for this product of 14 to 15%. And basically this number you should compare when you look at these, because then you're having a year of treatment, or close to a year. So that is a dramatic weight loss. What we did have in this trial is, and it's now moving into a territory what is competitive to operations and gastric banding. And this is why we think that it could potentially help people to getting out of type 2 diabetes because of this. Because you need to lose a lot of weight in order to also remove fat from the liver and so forth. So we have 1,200 patients have been given this drug, or volunteers, and adverse effect profile is similar to placebo. So you really can't really distinguish them. The only thing we saw in difference between it was an increase in heart rate. And this is not necessarily dangerous, but it is a regulatory issue because you need very large trials. And we are then taking advantage of this now by combining with Tesomet, where we have shown in animal models that we can blunt the increase in heart rate with metoprolol and then still maintain the weight loss properties of tesofensine. And this is what we have a patent on now and is issued in the US, which is the most important market. This slide I just show here was you could say the phase 2 data of the therapeutic dose at 0.5 milligram. And you can see you have quite a lot of patients which is above 16-20%, which is probably the range you need to get into if you want to get rid of liver fat. So here is actually a lot of patients may potentially get out of type 2 diabetes. Type 2 diabetes was not allowed to participate in this trial. But when we look through the data again here last year, then we saw that 25% of the patients actually could be defined as pre-diabetic. So they had elevated glucose level, but not enough to be defined as a type 2 diabetes. And did they also lose a lot of weight? Yes, they did when they get tesofensine. They actually lost a bit more than the average of the group as a total. Also, we looked at the glycemic parameters, HbA1c, which is measuring, for instance, which is measuring the average glucose level in the bloodstream. And the blue bar here is basically presenting, if you're above that one, then you are pre-diabetic. If you're above that one, then you will be defined as diabetic. And these patients were on average, you could say, in pre-diabetic range. And what you see here is those who got tesofensine, they actually, just after 4 weeks, they would get down to the borderline, and then after 24 weeks, they were clearly under the line on average. So these patients actually got out of their pre-diabetic conditions. We also have a phase 1 study showing that we can blunt the increase in heart rate in human. So we have the different components for this trial. We think we just need to put it together. And this is what this phase 2 trial about. We will we will recruit 60 patients, put in 2 arms. One will get to placebo, and the one would get the combination with metoprolol and tesofensine. Then they will be treated for 3 months. And then the primary endpoint will be to demonstrate that metoprolol can blunt the increase in heart rate, because that's the key for us right now, and that safety always go first. And then secondary endpoint will be effect on glycemic endpoints such as HbA1c you see here, effect on weight and waist circumference, and then importantly we also scan the liver in order to understand, are we reducing the liver fat, the right depots. So this is the thing. So it's a 3-month study. How does it then take maybe a year to get there? Well, we need 6 months recruitment. So first patient, first visit, and last patient, first visit. That would be the recruitment period. That could take 3 months, 4 months, 5, 6 months. We estimate 6 months. Then the last patient needs to go through the trial. That's 3 months test. And then there will be 20 days follow-up where you're then asking for adverse effects afterwards. So it will come 4 months after the last patient gets into the trial, before we can go to the data log and start with the independent statistics looking on all the data. And that's also take 1.5 months or something. So that's why we are saying within a year we will have these data. And we will report when we have the last patient in here, because then we know that the train is taking 4 months from there. So we will report to the market when we have last patient first visit coming into the trial. So patient, how does it look for them? They will have 2 visits initially for screening, baseline measurement, and randomization. 7 visits during the trial, 7, 14, 21, so forth, and then a final measurement over 3 days. And we will then look for vital signs, body weight, waist frequency, measuring for CV, cardiovascular parameters, heart rate and blood pressure, collection of blood for efficacy, such as HbA1c, and we will scan the liver. And then there will be a follow-up for adverse effects at the end also. So this is the trial. Just see what this is about. Oh, this one is, I will skip, and this one will skip. Okay, I thought there was a little bit more. Anyway, so this is what we're doing with phase 2. And there are, you say, also something beyond obesity and phase 2. I don't think I have time for this one, right? So let's skip this one. So a little bit about share price. We are right now maybe trading a little higher today. Yesterday night we were at 21 crowns. We were listed at 5 crowns per share back in 2014. We had a couple of finance rounds, which is why we have these dips. And now we are back, you could say, at the same level as last summer. Market cap 440 million. Average daily turnover in the last year has been about 2 million crowns. We are followed by 3 analysts, Biostock, Radar, and Small Cap. Radar and Small Cap just raised their recommendation a little bit. Anyway, it's much higher than the current level. So what is going to happen in the coming period? We had quite a busy spring here, first quarter. So, sorry. Did I do something?
This is a sign, Thomas, the time is up.
Okay, but I'm close. So, that one. So we entered into a deal with Mr. Smith in January. We had the deal with Medics in February. We got a grant from J. Fox in February. Here in March we announced the start of phase 2, and we then will have the first dose of reporting in April. Also, we will have the update when we have, you could say, the last patient coming recruited, and then later on we will get data, top-line data to the market. Then we will have initiation of phase 2 for 2359 here in spring. Also during the year, we hope that we'll start phase 3 together with Medics for obesity in Mexico. Then there will be progression on other programs as well as 363. And then also I think there could come up new collaboration, other things on the BD side. And then we will also put out updating a little later on our plans for NASDAQ listing this year. So all in all, several products moving into the clinics. Strong news from start of 2016. We see a lot of inflection points going forward. And we are moving towards NASDAQ small cap this year. And the reason we do this is because we would like to be attractive for institutional investors and be more visible from investors in Denmark, rest of Europe and US. And of course, with a market cap of 500 million, right where we are right now, 500 million doesn't change much, but with this news flow, maybe we could change that. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Thomas.
So.
Peter, Jonas, please.
Okay.
Så, tack så mycket. Jag tror vi tar frågorna på svenska om det går bra. Vi tar frågorna på svenska.
Ja, det går bra. Det går bra.
Ja. Väldigt mycket information, tack. Ett litet bolag med väldigt mycket som händer och tämligen komplext. Om man försöker förenkla för investerare för att förstå vad ni gör. Ja. Jag såg att Redeye la ungefär halva värdet av bolaget på ert diabetes- eller fetma-projekt. Håller du med om det? Är det den absolut viktigaste delen av ert bolag är ert Tisomet-projekt, ert viktminskningsprojekt? Är det där man ska fokusera för att värdera er?
It's always that the most advanced project will have the most intention, be the most valuable for the company, and I actually think that Tisomet is a very valuable program. We are right now taking a big shot on type 2 diabetes, but there are something beyond type 2 diabetes and obesity. This SAFGEN trial, which I refer to up here, is going into an orphan drug indication, was testing an orphan drug indication. That is interesting because it's a fast way to get to the market, it's much cheaper. And this is something we are looking at. But there are other indications which could be obvious for this product, such as NASH, which is just liver fat, which where you have scarring in the liver. And we will also in this trial here with Tesomet, actually because we're scanning the liver, get a measure for that, whether it's useful for this. But it seems obvious that there will be something. It's a little different indication. So there's a lot of different opportunities out there. It's not going to stop with type 2 diabetes.
Det finns ju väldigt många möjligheter när man lyssnar på dig rent generellt. Man undrar lite grann, hur hinner ni med alla dessa olika affärsmöjligheter? Och min fråga är, de case ni drar in nu, är de kopplade direkt till det forskningsteam ni har? Använder ni era forskare eller är det deals ni drar in därför att ni ser affärsmöjligheter? Är det två olika verksamheter eller är det så att era duktiga forskningsteam tillför värde i de projekt som ni faktiskt köper in?
So there's always in a biotech company and also in pharmaceutical company a big distinction between research and development. It's complete different people. They do working different. They understand things, and most of our people are research oriented. So we have the team which can make collaborations with pharmaceutical company, identify the drug, develop the candidate, and then we need to normally to take it over by other companies. When it comes to a product like Tesomet, we need to put the team together, and in order to do it, because we don't have these capabilities inside. And in this case, we are working with a person, part-time, 3 people actually, both part-time, which have been involved in this field for many years. And one of them is based in San Francisco, one in Czech, and one in Denmark, and then we are teaming up with one of the best in the field, namely Profil, which is a specialist in type 2 diabetes. So that's how we have designed it, and they have been doing these trials. The person in Mexico, in San Francisco, he has run phase 2 and phase 3 trials in the past for other companies. So he's engaged part-time. So that's how we are handling this particular program. When it comes to the program with Pennsylvania, then they are controlling it. They are specialists in this. This is what they're doing all the time. So basically, this is one of the few centers in the world which are specialized in cocaine addiction.
En sista fråga bara. Lite på samma tema. Kan du kvantifiera hur många så att säga, full-time equivalents av staff och konsulter är det som jobbar för Saniona eller med Sanionas produkter? Och hur fördelar de sina efforts? Vilka top 3 liksom, projekten?
So in Saniona we are right now only 18 people, 20, and but we have 20 chemists in India working on our programs. So there have been a long-time relationship with a company called Syngene in India, and they have 20 chemists working on our programs. They don't know exactly what program they're doing. Our chemist here saying you should do this compound, this compound, this compound, and then we get for each chemist one compound back every week. That's basically what happens. So this way you could say we are 40 in research. And then when we were working on 363, we engaged them on a turnkey project, and then we had maybe 15, 20 more. So actually, there are more people working in India for the company right now. And why I'm doing this, it is much cheaper. As PhD in India costs on average $50,000 or so, and you need to take 4 or 5 doubles in at least in here in Europe. So there's a complete different price level, and they are very good.
Okej, tack.
Okej, tack så mycket Thomas och tack så mycket Peter och Jonas.